Every single day, with just a simple click or a tab, we're commanding billions of tiny electronic switches. It's incredible. But have you ever stopped to think about what happens in between? Between your command and the machine's action, there's this powerful, invisible force that's running the entire show. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and meet your computer's mastermind.
So let's start with something simple. You click an icon to open your web browser and poof, it just opens. But in that split second, a really complex and honestly beautifully choreographed dance begins. So what's actually going on under the hood? Okay, let's dive into this.
Meet the manager, the conductor, the translator. This is the operating system, or as you've probably heard, the OS. It sits right in the middle, between you and all your apps and the raw physical computer hardware. It's the essential go-between that makes everything you do on a computer even possible.
Okay, so if we want to get a little more formal about it, the OS is the system software that manages all of the computer's resources. We're talking its processor, its memory, its storage, all of it. Honestly, you can think of it as the government, or maybe a benevolent dictator of your computer. It sets the rules, it hands out the resources, and it just makes sure everything runs smoothly and plays fair.
The first, and maybe the most obvious job of the OS is to handle all the things we want to do at once. It's a master juggler, really.
I mean, just think about it. Right now, you might have a dozen tabs open, maybe some music playing in the background, notifications popping up, but a computer's main processor, its CPU, can fundamentally only do one single thing at a time. So, how is this incredible multitasking even possible?
Well, the secret starts with this concept, a process. Anytime you run a program, the OS creates a process for it. You can just think of it as the program in an active state of execution. So your web browser, that's a process. Your music player, that's another one. Your word processor, that's a third. And the OS has to manage every single one of them. And to keep track of all this, the OS puts each process through a life cycle. When you first launch a program, its process is considered new. When the CPU is actively working on it, it's running. If it's paused for something, like waiting for a file to download, it's waiting. The OS knows the exact state of every single process at any given millisecond. It's pretty wild.
Now here's the real magic trick. To create the illusion of doing everything at once, the OS performs something called a context switch. It lets one process run for a tiny fraction of a second. Then it instantly freezes it, saves its exact state, and loads up the state of the next one. It does this thousands of times a second, so ridiculously fast that to our slow human brains, it just looks like everything is happening at the same time. Okay, so the OS is juggling all these programs. That's cool. But with so much going on, how does it stop one program from accidentally messing up another one? Well, that's its next huge job, acting as a guardian.
You can think of the OS as a very strict landlord for your computer's memory. It gives each process its own private, walled-off apartment of memory. And this is absolutely crucial. It means a bug in your game can't crash your web browser, or even worse, take down the entire system. Each program is kept in its own lane, no exceptions.
But what happens if you run out of physical memory? Run out of apartments? Well, the OS has another clever trick up its sleeve. It can take a process that isn't being used right now and swap it out to the much larger but slower hard disk. This is called a backing store. This frees up that precious main memory for the apps you're actually using. And when you switch back to that program, don't worry, the OS seamlessly swaps it right back in.
And this right here is the secret sauce, translation. A program basically lives in its own little dream world. It uses what's called a logical address, thinking it has all the memory in the world to itself. But every single time it tries to access that memory, the OS jumps in and intercepts the request. It translates that logical address into a physical address, the actual real location on the computer's memory chips. This constant translation is the key that keeps every program in its own protective little sandbox.
All right, so we've seen how the OS manages running programs and their memory. But what about all of our stuff? Our documents, our photos, our videos. Yep, the OS takes care of that too. On the left, you're seeing what a hard drive really is. It's a stack of spinning platters where data is stored as microscopic magnetic spots. It's pure physical chaos. But then the OS steps in, and it acts like a master librarian. It takes all that chaos and presents it to us as the clean, organized world of files and folders we see on the right. This transformation, from chaos to order, is honestly one of the greatest feats of the OS.
And just like any good librarian, our OS has different strategies for organizing its books.
It might store a file in one long, continuous block on the shelf, which is really fast to read. Or it could link different pieces of the file together, kind of like a scavenger hunt, which is way more flexible. Or, in a more modern approach, it can use an index block. Think of it like a card catalog for each file that lets it quickly find all of its scattered pieces. So, when you put it all together, you really start to see just how much this unsung hero is doing for us every single second.
So it's the process manager, expertly juggling every app you're running. It's the memory guardian, building those strong walls between programs to keep them safe. And it's the file librarian, turning that magnetic chaos into your neatly organized digital life. It really is the foundation that everything else is built on.
You know, there's a saying in computer science that the best designed OS is the one you never notice. And it's so true. It just works so seamlessly, so reliably in the background that we can focus on what we want to do without ever having to think about the incredible complexity it's managing for us.
So the next time you click that icon, just take a half a second. Appreciate that intricate dance of processes, the careful management of memory, and that silent translation from chaos to order. Because now you know about the powerful mastermind that's running the whole show.